Good morning. I'd like to bring the March 3rd, 2021 Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. And I ask that you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and the flag is located outside of those windows this morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. I'd like to ask if you would please either silence or turn off your cell phones. And today we're operating under much different circumstances, as most meetings are now being held. We have some commissioners that are watching by television or online in a live stream, and will be forwarding questions to me via text. So yes, I'll be looking down at my phone a few times. So we'll be getting comments and questions from them, and please be patient with us as we move these cases forward. Phone number in which to call is 706-225-3937. It should be scrolling on your screen right now for those that are watching electronically. I remind those in the audience, those watching on television, that this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception request that's brought before us today. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff, then ask the applicant to come forward to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against that said request or to inquire about that request. The commissioners will have any needed discussion on the case once a motion is made and seconded by the commission. A vote will take place and a recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is moved forward to the City Council with the two independent recommendations. If the Planning Department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of a letter stating the denial to notify the Clerk of Council that they're requesting to be placed on City Council's agenda. The City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting called the first reading. Said council shall consider the case, review our decision and planning department recommendations, and hear a discussion on the matter. Council will make a final decision at a second public meeting called the second reading. All right, our first item normally is minutes, and we do not have minutes from the previous meeting to vote on this morning, so we will go forward with the cases. All right. First case, rezoning case, is REZN 01-210124. This is a request to rezone 0.82 acres of land located at 1018th Street. Current zoning is GC, General Commercial. Proposed zoning is NC, Neighborhood Commercial, and it's with conditions. The proposed use is pharmacy. Austin Gower is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 7. Mimi Woodson. We'll hear from planning first on staff report. Please.
Yes, sir. This is the rezoning case that was delayed last time. Austin Gower is the owner applicant. Since then, he has given the city the power of attorney to move forward in the down zoning of his property. So while technically he is not here, the city is the applicant. So before I read the staff report, let's see if there was any questions.
Any questions, commissioners?
Yes.
Mr. Boland?
I mean, is that general practice? Is there any kind of conflict of interest by him relinquishing that to the city?
No, we reached out to city attorney. He said because it's in the city's best interest to downzone that property, that it's no different than if we did the Bradley Park rezoning, where we reached out to everyone and asked them if we could basically rezone all of their property to match what fit the area. This is very similar to that.
Okay. All right, so we'll hear from you on the staff report.
Yes, sir.
for the record.
General land use is consistent, planning area D. Current land use designation is general commercial, future is office and professional. It is compatible with the existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to an issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. The property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase by 111 trips if used for commercial usage. The level of service will remain a level B. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of CCG for commercial usage. There'll be no school impact. The site shall include a Category C buffer along all property lines bordered by the RMF2 and RO zoning district. Those three options under Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs and ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, 30 feet undisturbed natural buffer. No Fort Benning recommendation, no DRI recommendation. The current zoning to the north is RO, south is RO, east is RMF2, and west is RO. 35 property owners within 300 feet of the subject's property were notified of the rezoning case. The planning department received no calls and or emails regarding this rezoning.
All right, thank you, Mr. Renfro. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Renfro regarding this case? We do have two that are, and I know this is off the case, but we do have two other operating virtually this morning, so I just wanted you to know that they are online, and they've let me know that they are there. All right. Well, that said, I don't believe there's anyone in the audience who wants to come up and speak on this case, and you understood what he said in his remarks. Commissioners, I open up the floor for a motion regarding this case.
In the case of REZN 01210124, request to rezone .82 acres of land located at 1018th Street. Current zoning is GC General Commercial. Proposed zoning is Neighborhood Commercial with conditions. The proposed use is pharmacy. I recommend that this be approved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Have a second from Mr. Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor to approve this case, raise your right hand. And all opposed? All right. And I have a yes vote from Mr. Dudley. All right. And it's approved. All right. Thank you very much. All right, next case. Case number REZN 02210292. This is a request to rezone 10.50 acres of land located at 7100 Jameson Road. Current zoning is LMI, which is light manufacturing industrial. Proposed zoning is RO, residential office. The proposed use is multifamily. Kevin Buckner is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 6, Gary Allen. And we'll hear again from staff first, please.
Yes, sir. The general land use is inconsistent for planning area B. The current land use designation is vacant. The future is light manufacturing industrial. It is compatible with existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to an issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. The average annual daily trips will increase by 958 trips if used for residential usage. The level of service will increase to a level C. This shall meet the codes and regulations of CCG for residential usage. There'll be no school impact. The site shall include a Category C buffer along all property lines bordered by LMI zoning district. Those three options on a Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, 30 feet undisturbed natural buffer. No recommendation from Fort Benning, no DRI recommendation. The surrounding zoning to the north is RE1, to the south is SFR3, east is RE1, and then west is LMI. 45 property owners within 300 feet of the subject properties were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received no calls and or emails regarding this case.
All right. Commissioners, y'all have any questions of Mr. Renfro regarding this case? Anyone? All right, and I don't have any questions from those that are watching virtually. All right. Is there anyone in the audience needs to come forward at this time and present this case and tell us what your plans are? We need you to come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Buckner My address is 3825 Paces Walk Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30339.
Okay. Tell us what your plans are here,
Yeah.
if you will, please, Mr. Buckner.
I just have a few remarks, and I will tell you what we are planning. Again, good morning. My name is Kevin Buckner. I'm the principal owner of the development company that is asking for the rezoning of the parcel from LMI to RO. TBG is a multifamily developer that builds workforce housing for moderate to low income wage earners. We are currently a vertically we are a vertically owned business, which means that we're not only developers, but we do our own construction and management of our developments. We're a company that has been in business since 1920. I'm a third generation and have two daughters that make them fourth generation running a family business. For those of you that travel Warm Springs Road, we are currently doing a development right next to Flat Rock Park. The property we're asking to be rezoned is an LMI. I understand that it isn't a perfect zoning request, but what we are asking for is, because it's a mixed-use area now, which includes a movie studio at the end of Jamison Road, and across from the highway is Midland Commons, which is being built. I bring this to the board's attention as there are just many moderate income jobs being created, but there's no rental affordable housing available. The site abuts Fall Line Trace, is adjacent to Midland Middle School, and is a short 3 blocks from Metro's Route 6. Though there are no current development plans for the remaining acreage that W.C. Bradley owns, W.C. Bradley owns an additional 70 acres. So for them to put this under contract for us, they see that affordable housing for what their future plans are would be a good use. Our development will be approximately 140 units over a 3 or 4 year period. Our development will have a clubhouse, workout facilities, computer center, outdoor pool and splash center, and playground. We have the support of the Columbus Community Reinvestment Development Department, who also sees a need for affordable housing. And I would urge the vote to vote in favor of this zoning request, as the need for our proposed development is great. The approval of this zoning request accomplishes two main goals, which is certainly the growing need for new, safe, and clean, affordable housing. And secondly, this will create some barrier to other multifamily development being built in more public sensitive areas. So what I'm saying to the board is, we understand that anytime we're asking for a multifamily request, it's not always easy. If you put an affordability component in there, it makes it more difficult. We've been through this before. Jamison Road is really a mixed-use area. I understand it's an LMI district, and we don't necessarily fit into the future land use plans, but that whole area is changing. And so when we talk about bringing affordable housing to Columbus, and especially to the northeast sector of the city, which is so important, we're putting housing in an area that in some way is tucked back. It doesn't look like it's maybe the perfect use, but on the other hand, if we came to in front of the commission and said, hey, we want to have RO zoning or multifamily, that's next to a residential area, there's a lot of pushback. So in this case, we feel like it's an appropriate use because what we're building does fit into the area, because that LMI district is really changing. That whole area is changing, and you don't have any affordable housing in that northeast sector. So people want to work and live nearby. Having affordable housing will create new jobs, and it'll allow people to work near, live where they work. So I understand that it's a little of a complicated ask, but I wish you guys would think about it a little bit. And that's all I have to ask. I'd be glad to ask answer any questions that you have.
I do have a question. I want you to define what is affordable housing in your eyes.
Yeah, affordable, it's an easy one. Affordable housing is, a better name for it is workforce housing. All of our residents, specifically, we are renting to people that earn 60% or less of the area median income. All of our residents have jobs. They're all underwritten to make sure that they can financially afford they all pay rent. None of this is Section 8 housing. And it's somebody that is going to work over at Midland Commons. It may be a family that is earning $35,000, $40,000 jointly. It may be a single mother with children that just can't afford to live in that area because there isn't good affordable housing. So what we build is really nice. If you go, when you see when we're finished over in Warm Springs Road, you'll look at it, and other than seeing new multifamily, you won't know that it's affordable housing. You won't look at it and go, oh my goodness, this is affordable housing. So what we build is high quality, in many cases, nicer than new multifamily that's being built, or even some townhouses. But it specifically is rented to people that have, are lower income earners. They're not people that are on, people that, we also have standards. If you don't earn enough money, you can't live there. Just because we're affordable doesn't mean that everybody can live there. So 60% or less of the area median income. So people that are earning probably in a sliver of, $48,000 to $30,000, somewhere in that range as a family income.
Well, give me an example of one of the units, say a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Well, I don't know what you're building exactly, but
Right.
Give me an example of what the rent would be on, say, something like that.
Mr. Mayor, I would say that the rent will be somewhere in the $700 to $800 range for a 2-bedroom. Could be a little bit. It could be a little bit lower. I should have brought that with me.
All right, well, no, I was just, and another question is, how will this impact the school enrollment for that area, do you believe? I mean, this is quite a few. You said 100.
Well, there's two things. For our purposes, we would rather build family tenancy because that's what there's a need for. Though if the board thought a senior facility would be more appropriate, we could also do senior if people are very worried about school. But to answer your question, the residents, we have 21 other developments, and we do a lot of research. It doesn't impact the schools in the way that you would think it does because we are just offering affordable housing for people that are already in the school system. People that live in South Columbus don't move up to North Columbus for our affordable housing. Our market study will cut off probably a good 50% of the city. So people might go from one school to another, but these are students that are going to be in the school area anyways. Now, the 1-bedrooms don't affect the schools at all because that's typically a senior citizen or it's typically just a senior citizen or somebody without kids. 2-bedrooms might have one young child. They may be in the school district. It's the 3-bedrooms, which we limit, that probably use the school more. So first, the multifamily doesn't create as much use on schools as you would think, but it does. I'm not saying that it doesn't. And the other side of it is that typically our program is used for people to live there, and then they tend to move on to home ownership after that. It allows them to only spend 30% of their income on rent versus being overburdened. A lot of renters in Columbus, city of Atlanta, all throughout the United States are just overburdened.
Gotcha. Okay, I do have one more question.
Yes.
Of course, I'm going to hand it over to the commission here in just a minute, but are there any crime statistics for this type of housing? This is from Sheila Brown. She's asking.
The answer is we've done research on certain other properties of ours and taken a look at areas and talked to the police department, got their reports, or the fire department to see how many other extra trips. And the answer is, because of the way we manage our properties and who we let in our properties, the answer is no. There is absolutely no more crime. And I can make an argument, because we manage our own properties, we're the owner, contractor, and management company. There's less crime with us than many other properties, just because of the type it's how we manage. We have on-site management, and we have owners like myself on our properties quarterly.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, I think, has a question down here.
Excuse me. Sir, is this a gated area?
We tend not to put gated areas in. For us, gated areas, and I would think market is more of a marketing issue. If you said we'd like it gated, we would, but gated areas tend to cause, even for market rate developers, calls at midnight when people are crashing through the gates. It's more of a marketing issue than a security issue.
Okay.
But
And you
we could, if that was important, but we typically don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other? Yes, sir.
Question. Phase 1 is going to be the first, you said 72 units,
Yes, sir.
but then
Yes.
phase 2, those units, is it anticipated to be occupied before phase 2 starts? I'm wondering about the safety of the people already living there before phase 2 starts.
It's a really good question, and typically what we will do is we will sit down with we will try to do a phase 2. Typically that phase 1 is just opening. We'll have to take a look at phase 2, and typically we will sit down with the building department and talk to them about their feelings, because oftentimes if we can show a way where we can block off phase 2 and keep those residents in phase 1 from reaching phase 2 for safety issues. I mean, your concerns are our concerns. That's the last thing that we need. So it may be that in this case we can't, but it's something that we always have to work out with the city first. Thanks for the question.
Anyone else? Okay, I do have another question from one of those watching virtually. Are there any busing concerns down that road, school buses, city buses? And do you know if Metro goes out there?
Not offhand, but I would imagine that there is a bus stop close.
Metro is right at Flat Rock and Jamison Road.
Okay, all right. But I mean, do you have any concerns with buses going down, turning around the cul-de-sac since it is smaller?
No. In fact, it's very possible, and I haven't talked to the school board or the transportation part, but it's possible that the bus might just pick them up at Jamison and Flat Rock. I don't know that it would be a short walk for students.
Gotcha. And John, Mr. Renfro, one other thing, has Muskogee County Schools been informed that this could be coming up in that area?
They have been.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
and they're not showing any concern? Okay,
No.
all right. Any other questions, commissioners? No, I've been asking a lot, but I've been getting a lot of text. All right, thank you, Mr. Buckner.
I appreciate your time. I understand it's not clear cut, but I appreciate the time that you guys are and asking the questions that you have. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for this case? Please come forward at this time. And is there anyone in the audience like to come speak against this case? Please come forward at this time. We have a very limited number in the audience, so I'm going to move it on to a vote. Would you like to make a proposal?
Sure.
Well, you might as well. This is
I
your
know,
last
swan
meeting.
song
and
or something.
So I'd like to hear from you there, Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir.
All right.
In the case of REZN-02-21-0292, location 7100 Jamison Road, a request to rezone 10.5 acres from LMI to RO. Because it is compatible with existing land uses, I recommend approval.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Derby. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor to accept this motion, raise your right hand. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 for it, and anyone to deny. I have one that is against the motion, so it carries 5 with Mr. Dudley to 1, and I'm kind of giving Ms. Brown a minute to see if she votes. I can see her typing. Like I say, we got a yes vote from Mr. Dudley. And she voted, let's see, she voted yes too, so we have it 6-1. So thank you very much for your time, Mr. Buckner. All right, that concludes our cases for today. Is there any new business? I know we've already discussed that won't be another meeting this month.
There won't be. The next meeting will be sometime in April if we get any cases.
Okay.
We've had some come in. They were incomplete, or we needed additional information, and those have been pushed back.
Okay. And I'd like to thank the service of Mr. Joseph Brannon here to my left and your right, and Mr. Bobby Bollinger over here. You have been exemplary commissioners. We thank you for your time and your effort, and the city of Columbus, I'm sure, appreciates you, and hopefully we get to see you again one day, maybe in a year, if you decide you want to come back. But we have 2 new commissioners that will be joining us, Pat Weekly and Brad Baker, and I understand they're going to be sworn in this month, and then hopefully we'll see them at the first meeting in April.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Is there anything else?
That's it.
Thank you for your time. We are adjourned.